What up, it's Shankster94, and welcome to the Prologue for my full play of Resident Evil Remake, or for the younger generation, Resident Evil Remastered. Now, something I need to stress right away, because the point of these prologues always remains the same. This video is meant to give you some details about the game in general, and information on how I will go about playing the game, as well as a quick peek of the gameplay elements. You will not see any footage of me actually playing in this video, so I recommend moving on to the main playthrough if you clicked on this video expecting gameplay. Alright, so Resident Evil Remake is titled so because it is a complete rebuild of the original Resident Evil game, released in 1996. Since the remake was first released in 2002 on the Nintendo GameCube, it also became the first Resident Evil game released exclusively for a Nintendo platform. The game has had a few ports since its initial release, the first one being on the Wii in 2008 under the title Resident Evil Archives Resident Evil, which happened to be the first version I played since I never owned a GameCube. Then, in 2015, we got a remastered version of the game for current-gen consoles, excluding the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch, unfortunately, which is kind of ironic when you think about it, because it originally came out on Nintendo platforms, so they didn't do it for, like, the latest generation. But this is the version you see here, and the one I'll be playing through, the remastered latest release. As of right now, anyway. Now, since this is a remake of the original 1996 version, a lot of the gameplay mechanics and storyline are parallel to the original. However, this game's visuals are dramatically upgraded, and new plot elements have been added to the Resident Evil canon, creating a much broader backstory. As for the remastering of the remake, the only differences are high-definition rendering of the graphics, updated menus like you see here, and additional outfits for the characters. So now let's go ahead and follow a tradition that I have with all of these full plays and view the demo reel for this game. Okay. Aha! Okay, so I think the point of that demo was to show you some of the new features of the remake compared to the original. We now have these things called defensive items. Let's go ahead and watch another demo. Oh shit. Okay, I'm probably going to wait until all of these demos are done before I start saying anything, because they occur very fast, unlike the original. Oh, I think that's the end of it. Okay, so there's only 2 demos, it looks like. I'm hoping that's the case. Alright, so now let me get back to the menu that's not gonna put me in demo mode. Okay. So, in the first demo, we were demonstrated, like, a new feature that the remake offers compared to or pretty much any game up till this point. We now have this new thing called defensive items. These items don't take up a slot in your inventory, rather they're placed in a separate little section when you go to your inventory screen. But anyway, Jill and Chris both get 2 different defensive items. Both of them can get a dagger, which is like a little knife that you could jam in the enemy's heads. And then they have their own exclusive ones. Jill gets a stun gun, and then Chris can get a flash grenade, which is actually very powerful, can insta-kill most enemies that are defended against. So, and then we saw some regular gameplay of like Chris shooting a zombie, and pushing climbable objects. So all of those aspects are still part of it, of course, because this is just a remake of the original. So, like I said, you're going to see a lot of elements that are similar. from the original game. But yeah, and then in the second demo, we just had more combat gameplay, specifically against a couple bosses I noticed. These demo reels are kind of like trailers, you could say, to the game itself. Alright, we are now at the halfway point of this prologue, where I finish demonstrating the game in general, and begin explaining my plan for fully playing this game. So if any of you have been watching my full plays, you know that I hardly ever play the games only once. The only exception was Resident Evil Gaiden, since that was a very simple game that didn't need another run. Furthermore, if you've watched my full play of the original title, you may be aware that I had to play it 8 times to achieve all of the possible endings, as well as show all the ways events could transpire throughout. This was the franchise's notorious zapping system at work. In the original Resident Evil, there's so many different events that could be triggered, and some of them correlated with the endings. Resident Evil 1 specifically had a crazy zapping system, and remake of it is no exception. Here's the thing. So I have some possibly discouraging news for you viewers and followers alike when it comes to the remake. Of course, the endings in the original are accounted for, all 8 endings, but now each character has 2 additional endings that are results of further events. This means there are a total of 12 endings now. So, as you may have been able to tell, I will be playing through this game a total of 12 times. 6 with Jill, 6 with Chris. So we will be on this game for quite a while. Since a lot of the events from the original title are carried over into this version, the amount of different possible events is roughly the same, so 12 playthroughs will be sufficient to trigger as many of those as possible. Some of the events have been removed from the original, as well as new ones have been added in, so you will see a good mix of new and familiar events unfold. There are different difficulty modes as well, that hasn't changed either. Like, the whole original beginner and arranged isn't necessarily being carried over. They don't rearrange items and whatnot, so it's kind of unfortunate. That would have been sort of nice. But anyway, there are different difficulties, so of course I'll be switching that up down the road through this full play. As for the order of the playthroughs themselves, I'm going to do all 6 of Jill's playthroughs first, then switch to Chris. Similar to what I did in the original. It just makes it easier on me. However, what's gonna be different is instead of making the final playthrough the most canonical to the storyline, each character's first game that I play will be the most canonical. The reason I'm doing this is because I plan to switch up the difficulty modes for some of these playthroughs. One of these modes is called Invisible Enemy Mode, and the effect of that is self-explanatory: invisible enemies. But you could imagine that the gameplay of that mode would distort the canonicity of the plot. So that's why I can't really make the last playthrough the most canonical, because the last playthrough of each character is where I plan to do Invisible Enemy, just for example. Another thing, because I plan on using different outfits for the characters as I'm going through this full play, I regret my decision to use special outfits for the characters' canon playthroughs in the original game, so I don't plan on doing that again. So it's simply best to make the first playthroughs of these characters the canonical ones. Alright, so now to go into more detail about my exact layout of this full play, let me just open up my game plan I have on a Word document on my PC here. Okay, I'm not playing on my PC, it's just, I have my Xbox One up right now, but I have my PC next to me, so, you know. Anyway, so here's my game plan in super detail. Games 1 through 6 will be Jill Valentine, games 7 through 12 will be Chris Redfield. To specify, game number 1 will be Jill's best ending played on normal difficulty. Game number 2 will be a good ending of Jill, also played in normal difficulty. Game number 3 will be the first bad ending with Jill, also in normal difficulty. Game number 4, the second bad ending, will be played in hard difficulty. So we'll finally change it up there and probably switch up the outfit as well. Game number 5 will be the second to worst ending. I'll be playing that in real survival mode, which is actually an unlockable game mode. Real survival mode means the item boxes aren't linked and auto aim has been deactivated. So that's going to be crazy. And then finally, game number 6, the last game of Jill's scenario, will be the worst ending, where no one is saved and whatnot. will be the worst ending, and that will be played in invisible enemy mode. Alright, now, game number 7 is where we switch over to Chris Redfield. Once again, best ending, normal mode. It's pretty much the same as Jill's. Like, the only difference is it's Chris. So, best ending normal, good ending normal, bad ending 1 normal, bad ending 2 hard, bad ending 3 real survival, and finally, worst ending invisible enemy. And then, we'll have my epilogue and bonus video featuring any other content that I may have missed, and my final words about the game. So, there's my game plan for you guys. My complete plan for fully playing the game. It's going to be a long journey, no doubt, and I'll be honest with you, I was dreading this game for a while because I don't know it nearly as well as the original, and I was aware of the sheer amount of endings and all of the different events that could be triggered. But after refamiliarizing myself with the game, by playing through it a couple times off camera before I started recording this prologue, I'm confident I'll do just fine. I'm actually versed in the game well enough now that I have no problem with this. Remember, anything that I miss in the initial playthroughs can always be covered in the bonus video and epilogue that go to my full plays. I'm actually looking forward to this now, and I really hope you guys will enjoy my full play of Resident Evil Remake. I will see you guys in the first playthrough. Peace out.